If you are focusing on progressive overload and your lifts are going up, yet you are not satisfied with the results you're getting, maybe it's time to take a step back and focus on other, more fundamental things before rushing progress. I'm Panos and I have been training naturally for more than a decade now. Also, I am a hypertrophy coach. My goal here on Hype Coach is to help you improve your physique by sharing everything that I wish I had known when I started my own journey. So, progressive overload and progress in general is being praised as the one single most important thing you have to do in order to see results. But that's not entirely true. There are other, way more fundamental things. Let's take a step back. Let's say that you are doing 10 reps with the 200s on incline bench press, and then the next weeks you go for 11. But your range of motion becomes a little bit shorter, or your tempo becomes a little bit faster. Even though you have added one rep to your set, you cannot really be sure whether you progress or not. Because in order to measure the difference in the reps or the weight between those two sets, you have to make sure that all the rest of the parameters remain unchanged. Adding an extra rep or a few pounds will not build you muscle. It's just the result of all the muscle that you have built from the previous sessions. Challenging your muscles more and more is what makes them stronger and bigger. And this should be your main focus, to incrementally challenge your muscles through mechanical tension from week to week. The progressive overload will come as a result of that. And if not, it's a really good indication that something else is off and you should do something about it. The point I'm trying to make is that before you start caring whether the weight or the reps are going up, you have to invest some time into standardizing your exercise execution by keeping the same tempo throughout the whole set and the same range of motion on every rep. You basically want all your reps to look exactly the same. Once you have mastered that, your next goal should be to start pushing closer and closer to failure without changing your tempo, reducing the range of motion, or breaking your technique. The only exception being the last few reps before failure that will inevitably be slower. Approaching actual muscular failure with all those parameters standardized is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, challenges you are going to face throughout your lifting journey. And it really takes years to master, but it can give you some great benefits. First of all, gains. Since this way you ensure that your targeted muscle is properly stimulated and you are not leaving gains on the table by working too light or with inconsistent execution. In our example, if your primary goal is to get that one extra rep on the incline bench press, it's very easy to use your triceps more throughout the set and the actual stimulus on your chest ending up being less, since your triceps are taking over. But if you enter the set with the mentality, I need to hammer my chest, then you're actually focusing on the thing that will make your chest bigger instead of your ego. Also, it enables you to actually measure your progress and justify whether something works or not. This way you can optimize some variables of your training, like your volume or your frequency, by making changes and then observing how these changes are affecting your progress and therefore your results. This is the main reason that progressive overload is praised on the first place, because it's a great tool that can help you navigate your training structure. For example, if you are doing 12 sets for your chest on a weekly basis and your lifts are not going up for several weeks, adding 1 or 2 sets can help you break your plateau. Finally, it can prevent injuries. Most injuries happen due to poor warm-up and inconsistent execution in the pursuit of progressively overloading and getting that extra rep. If you're working strictly and close to failure for weeks, at some point you won't be able to progress anymore, and that is totally fine. This is a time to take a deload for a couple of days, or ideally for a week, and then come back refreshed, recover, and go after it again. On the other hand, if you're always trying to get that something extra out of your sets by cheating bit by bit, you're generating noise that prevents you from listening to your body that is crying for a break, and that is usually when something pops and you are getting injured and you're out of the gym for at least a couple of months. So how can you improve your execution to the point that tracking progress actually makes sense? Record your sets from multiple angles, at least for a couple of weeks, preferably months. This way you can evaluate your execution and make adjustments from set to set and session to session. Try to sync your breathing with certain parts of the movement. This way you are ensuring better tempo consistency on each exercise. If you want to know more about how you can adjust your tempo breathing depending on the exercise, you can check out this video where I'm explaining everything in detail. Another thing you can do to standardize your execution is start with machines that provide standardized range of motion. This way you can first learn how to work with a steady tempo, and once you have mastered that, you can move to barbells and dumbbells and learn how to standardize your range of motion and your execution as a whole. This process will take time, but you only have to do it once, and then you can benefit from it for the rest of your lifting career. Once you have increased the quality and consistency of your training, chasing progress should become your main priority. Just keep in mind that as you become more and more experienced, progress will inevitably slow down, and after a certain point it becomes really hard to justify whether you are stuck or not. I have personally reached the point where for some exercises I only managed to add 1 rep every 1 or in some cases even 2 months. So don't rush into making conclusions and focus on the bigger picture. Cheers!